very much, Professor Davies, as well as each of you for not only attending, but for allowing me to be part of. I have a slight dilemma in being very loud, and I'll tell you exactly why. I just came back from abroad, from China, and the problem with being in China was that the pollution was quite stiff. So as a consequence of the pollution, unfortunately, I lost my voice and part of my health as well, which ties in very well with what we are here to talk about today. But anyway, regardless, as I was saying in the beginning, by getting the invitation from Professor Davies, as well as this wonderful place, it means a lot to me. And I'll tell you exactly why. When you look at the Quran, the first revelation was, for example, اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق خلق الإنسان من علق. It says, read in the name of your Lord. That's the first point. So Islam is talking about reading, possibly writing, and understanding. That's the religious dimension. And we can all appreciate that, being people of faith. As a matter of fact, it is said 84% of the world population believes in some God or the other. So that's a reality. There seems to be this opinion out there at times that there is a conflict between religion and science. And Islam from the very beginning says, after it says read in the name of your Lord, it says اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق خلق الإنسان من علق. After saying read in the name of your Lord, it says you have been created from a piece of cloth. That means sperm and an egg forming together to create a human. This was a statement made over 1400 years ago, prior to you and I knowing regarding the embryo and its development. So Islam from the very beginning is saying, number one, God is your focal point, and number two, understand the development of science and the contribution that science can make in the lives of individuals. So from this perspective, having individuals from the scientific community, having individuals from the religious community being part of this symposium, if you will, shows that we are willing to not only create greater level of understanding, but also at the same time awareness and a shared meaning. So the first part we discussed briefly is the aspect of religion and the role religion plays in the life of people. For example, the Quran says, وَمِنْ آيَاتِي أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا وَمِنْ آيَاتِي مَنَامُكُمْ بِاللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ, etc., etc. The Quran is saying the following, that there are multiple signs and symbols that exist in humanity. And these signs and symbols are not just to say, honey, the wonderful moon out there, let's go for a walk. That's not the function of it. Or twinkle, twinkle, little star, I wonder, wonder where you are. That's not the idea of seeing the stars. For example, if you study Islam and philosophers of the past, you will see that there was the role for the moon. The moon, for example, assisted individuals for the purposes of navigation. It told us about, or it assisted us in as far as how water will flow during certain times of the month. Stars were there for the purpose of navigation. When you look at Islamic prayer timetable, it is pretty much navigated by the motion of the sun. When the sun moves from its zenith point a little bit off, the second prayer of the day will start. The first prayer takes place before sunrise. Another prayer takes place just after sunset, etc., etc. So the Quran is saying, and religion is saying, all these things come for a particular function and a particular purpose so that you may appreciate it, so that you may be able to utilize it for your benefit. Nowhere in Islam it will say you cannot use these things, including animals, including trees, plants, etc. Everything has a place and a manner in which it ought to be utilized. And this is very important because there are certain groups out there that will say, no, we cannot eat meat. No, we cannot eat plants. Or no, etc., etc. And Islam does not believe in that. It says everything has a place Everything has a position and everything has to be utilized accordingly. Now a simple example regarding, for example, humans and animals. We know the story of Abraham, and in as far as Abraham is concerned, Islamic tradition has it as well, that he was called upon to sacrifice his child. When he takes his child for sacrifice, there is naturally pain, there is naturally emotions that are being shared between parent and child, and the child makes a very powerful statement to the father. He says, "Oh my father, cover your eyes. And as far as the blade is concerned, make sure it is very sharp in nature." Now, it sounds very cruel what we are saying here, but that's not the lesson we learn. In Islam, we learn that prior to the cutting of an animal, ensure that you will not give the animal a double death. What is a double death? Now we know how major corporations are keeping animals in their given slaughter homes or houses. It is very cruel in nature. They are fed to the maximum. They are fed to such an extent that they can barely even move. That's a problem in itself. The Quran says, in order for you to do good things, you must eat that which is pure. We are living in an age of proof, so let me give it the Arabic, like as if you'll understand. كُلُوا مِنَ الطَّيِّبَاتِ وَاعْمَلُوا صَالِحًا. Eat that which is pure, so you can do good deeds. Now let's go back again. Animal can barely walk. It is fed to its maximum. That's not enough. Thereafter, sometimes they will place that animal on a conveyor belt for slaughtering. And how cruel it is that one animal can see another animal suffering or going through difficulty. And we know scientifically that when an animal is being pursued, or when an animal is being attacked, or when it is going through its form of anxiety, there are levels in its body that continue to change, which move it from the state of being healthy to unhealthy. Not only that, as it is being cut in that belt, which moves very, very rapidly, there are some animals that are not cut in the process. At the end of the belt, generally what happens is, once the animal is cut, it falls into boiling water. So it's easy for you to take out the feathers. Some of those animals are not cut. So what ends up happening is that live animal falls into boiling water. And what does our religion say about that? And by the way, when I say our religion, I don't mean your religion doesn't say it. All our religions have pretty much shared meaning on these things. And religion says no individual has the right to burn another individual. Burning can only be done by God and God alone. Not that to say God will burn. That's not what we are discussing here. There are certain things that are linked only for God to do. So God is saying only He can do it. And what we are saying, I can do it as well. So we're doing it to animals. We are doing it to plants. We are doing it to humans. Hiroshima and Nagasaki was not something that we don't know of. There are atrocities that are committed in various parts of the world under the guise of, not to get political, politics plays a major role, under the guise of democracy. We are taking away lives, not just necessarily with bullets, and it's not a Muslim or non-Muslim thing. It's a human thing. And we are reducing life to ash as a consequence of burning through nuclear, etc., etc. So now coming back to the previous issue, the Quran says you are what you eat, and you must eat that which is pure, because what is pure will make you do pure things. So it's all, as the previous individual mentioned, there is this interconnectedness. And the more we take it away from ourselves, the more we will hurt our current existence, our current environment, because everything is linked. So the Quran says elsewhere, ظهر الفساد في البر والبحر بما كسبت أيدي الناس. You will see corruption on earth. You will see corruptions in as far as the ocean goes. And we know what is happening now as it relates to fishes and fish and the reduction of fish production. Healthy fish production has also been somewhat reduced. Fish farms are not just feeding fish what fish are supposed to be eating. In the past we heard of mad cow disease because they were not just feeding these animals what they were used to being fed, they were feeding them things that were very inappropriate in nature. So as you can see, all these things are linked, and the Quran is saying, now whatever corruption you see on earth, corruption such as violence, etc., and whatever corruption you see in the ocean, reduction of plant life, etc., it's all as a result of what you and I have earned with our own hands. So when I do wrong, I think it is my business. Don't tell me what to do. Children talk that way. Adults, they may not say it, but they go and do it. And actions speak louder than words. So the advice generally we share towards Muslims is the following. And it states, you probably heard the concept or a Muslim saying, no, I don't eat this and I only eat that. I don't eat pork. I don't drink alcohol. Or I don't gamble. And many people of faith make these type of claims. It sounds wonderful and it sounds very noble. But in reality, if you examine what that individual is consuming, I hate to say this, but sometimes the thing that they claim to be kosher or halal is much more damaging to the body than that which may be forbidden at times. By virtue of example, I will just share a little with you. Since I use the word halal, halal means that which is permissible in Islam. Haram means that which is impermissible. So that's quite clear. The issue is and should not be permissibility or lack of permissibility as much as the issue should be how was this animal treated? In what environment did this plant come into existence? You and I both know the vegetation or the fruit and vegetables we eat is no less than at times, optimistically speaking, no less than 5 to 10 days old prior to it coming to your table. Those of you that are a little old like me, you probably will even say, bananas do not even taste like bananas anymore. You know as a child. Some of you are looking at me and trying to say, no, I'm not that old. Okay, wonderful, maybe it's just me. But even bananas do not taste like bananas. You look at the fruit that you are eating. Many times they'll tell you it is ripe, but it doesn't look ripe on the outside. It's all done for marketing purposes. So again, now you see that our food industry is very closely linked to corporations, whether it is animal feeding, whether it is vegetation. Take, for example, regarding the land. There are multiple nutrients that assist in the development of a plant. All of a sudden we see people spraying pesticides. Why? Is it needed? Yes, it is. Why is it needed? Because we have depleted the land of what the land had as its own defense. So now the insects that are living, they cannot do what they need to do. So you have to put things to develop them. The soil cannot do what the soil needs to do. So we have to now put pesticides and things in the soil. And it all creates now a chain reaction, one to the next, affecting my health and your health. So we are telling to Muslims that do not continue being a consumer in the literal sense. Rather, become an individual that consumes that which is beneficial for you in nature. Let me give you a simple example. The Quran, or rather in this case, the hadith means tradition of the Prophet, says the following: when you eat 1/3 food, drink 1/3 water, and leave 1/3 space in your stomach. How many of us follow that? It's a reality, especially now with all these buffets they have for $7, eat all you can eat, etc., etc. It's really creating a problem. And now research has shown, and by the way, Islam said over 1400 years ago, the best fast is the fast of David, peace be upon him. What was the fast of David? Muslims believe one day he used to eat, one day he used to fast. One day he used to eat, one day he used to fast. Islam is saying the following, that if you can help it, twice a week you must try and fast. Number one. Number two, it is saying, in the middle of every month, 13, 14, and 15, try to fast of every month, those 3 given days. So you look at an average, 8 plus 3, that's already 11. 11 times 12, over 100. I'm not a mathematician, as you can tell. Plus, Muslims are called upon to fast in the month of Ramadan, which is the holy month. That's 130 days of fasting. What am I getting at? The less you put in, less you will take out. And now research is showing the more we follow this simple principle, not only do we save the environment, you also save yourself from unwanted illness. Because our human bodies are not garbage cans. And this is something that is very hard for us to accept and appreciate. So, we have to tell Muslims this given aspect as a prescription. Another part we are seeing a lot of corruption, which is leading on to the environment, is the aspect of charity. Charity looks like a wonderful thing, a noble thing, and it is something that we are called upon to give, and rightfully so. But when we examine how our charity money is being used, it is very unfortunate. Of course, Muslims are more fortunate in the sense they only have to give 2.5%, but that's their own thing. But even that 2.5%, there is so much of corruption involved in it. I'll give you a simple example. An individual is taking money from the people to give to the poor. If I'm taking your money to give to a poor person, there must be some responsibility towards that. I'm not just talking about accountability while the figures match, he took so much and gave so much to the poor. No. We're talking about when I take that money, how do I utilize that money before it gets to the poor? Do I live in 5-star hotels as I'm giving the poor man or poor woman his or her ration of bread? This is important. What is my accountability? Not just to the books. What is my accountability to my Creator? So coming back to the aspect, for example, of vegetation or food, etc., the spiritual element in ourselves has been lost. So food is just food. Land is just land. Pollution is just pollution. And that is, excuse me, talking of pollution, regardless, when the spiritual element is removed, that's when you have individuals wanting to place laws. There is nothing wrong with laws, but laws have a greater effect on individuals that have a moral conscience. And that moral conscience can only be activated if we take ourselves to the level of the spiritual. That means, what does my God demand of me? I'll give you an example through hadith again. An individual was making the ablution, washing of himself prior to the prayer. Of course, if there's a stream, what will it say? We'll say there's a lot of water. You don't need to worry. But when the Prophet, peace be upon him, saw the individual using more water than normal, the Prophet made a restriction. And the individual sort of said, well, how can there be a restriction when there is so much water? You are traveling in a ship. You have access, or you're in a boat. You have access to all the water in the ocean. But what does the religion say? Use only to the extent that is needed. Now, if this is the rule we all live by, well, we know there won't be a need for a 10-bedroom home. There won't be a need for 3 cars in the garage. There won't be a need to upgrade every year. And because of our weakness, the auto industry, for example, will say, new car, no interest, 5 years. Sounds wonderful. But do you need that new car? Then what they say, it takes less gas. Okay, wonderful. It takes less gas. We understand that. But there are other things that it is taking more of, which we are not evaluating. So therefore, Islam is saying, what you have, use it to the best of your ability. That is the definition of the word called barakah. Barakah is the Arabic word which means the following. How can I have a little and appreciate it to the maximum? And this is something that we have to learn or teach our children from a very young age. That comes to the next concept called adab. Adab means manners. Now manners generally means the following. I am nice to you, you are nice to me. I am polite to you, and you call me, well, this imam is not so violent after all. Maybe, etc., etc. Well, Islam is not saying that's the definition of manners alone. The definition of manners in Islam is that I will do the right thing in the right manner all the time. That is also the definition of piety. Piety means not I'll be eating in a refined manner or dress only in a refined manner. It means I will do things in the proper manner. So yes, I may be poor. I may not be able to afford a decent set of clothing. But as so long as my simple clothing, even though it may have patches, gives no one else the right to laugh at me. And it gives me no right to laugh at someone else. Because every individual understands why they are going through what they are going through in life. So adab, manners means I must appreciate, I must respect, I must give value, and I must give credit to every individual in the proper manner. Again, I don't want to exceed my time limit, so just a few minutes more if that's okay. Oh, thank you very much. I'm going to make a new friend because my thing tells me 4. But anyway, fine. The commercial aspect has to be reduced. Now I'll give you an example of how Muslims are not dealing with this. And again, you can look at it from your point of view. A Muslim will say things like, I don't like Coca-Cola. Why? It's linked to America. Okay, wonderful. I don't like Barbie dolls. Why? It's linked to America. Look at what they're telling us. Look at how they're showing us that how our daughters should dress up. Very inappropriate. Okay, wonderful. We don't like American music. Why? Look at the words and the lyrics, etc. Okay, we'll go with you on that. But there is a problem, and the Muslims have to overcome this problem. So they don't like Coke, but what do? Look how smart capitalistic companies are. Okay, you don't like Coke? No problem. Let's call it Mecca Coke. Oh, that I like, because it has Mecca on it. Barbie I don't like, but Barbie with hijab, the face covering, that I do like. And the list goes on and on. So what I'm saying is, in order to save our environment, in order to save ourselves, in order to become more sustaining or sustainable, however you say that word right now, the reality is we have to look beyond. We cannot just do cosmetic work, because the cosmetic work is not solving our problems, nor is it removing our ills that we are greatly part of. So, in conclusion, the following has to be brought to the forefront. It's not about necessarily what you eat, what you drink, how the environment is kept, etc. It's not about just creating a band-aid solution on the other hand. The main thing is this: not the right or the left necessarily, but the link we can make between the right and the left as it relates to a creator, as it relates to a sustainer. The question we tell our Muslims regarding this is the following: what does my God, my Allah, my creator demand of me? That is why a Muslim, before he or she does everything, they use the word Bismillah. Bismillah means in the name of my creator. So when I start my car, I say Bismillah. Why? Because I'm not just saying Bismillah because I'm starting my car. What does my God demand of me to do after I start my car? Do I waste my gas and go to the club? Or do I go to my job? Or do I go to pray? When I put food in my mouth, what does my God demand of me when I say Bismillah, in the name of God? That means I will eat to the extent I need to eat, not just to fill my stomach up as if it is a garbage can. When I go to my wife, I will have the word in the name of God. So when I go home, I'm not violent, I'm not evil, I am not wretched. When I take part in a business transaction, I will use the word Bismillah, meaning, am I going to be moral? Am I going to be good to what I'm signing? Or I'm going to file bankruptcy 5 years down the line? These are important things because all these things are going to affect our environment. So I would leave you with just one question, or a question that we should ask ourselves when I'm doing whatever I'm doing. The question should be, what does my creator, whoever your creator is, we have to ask, what does my higher spiritual power demand of me? And rest assured, if we brought this into our everyday lives, the problems that we are having in society, whether it's pollution, whether it's regarding land, etc., gradually it will eliminate, or gradually it will be reduced. Again, I thank Professor Davies and each one of you for giving me an opportunity to come and ramble a little. It is truly an honor to be here. It is truly an honor to listen to the various presentations that individuals have made. It has been already a learning experience for me. Again, I thank you all for having me from the Islamic Society of Greater Salt Lake. I thank you. Peace and blessings. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.